Welcome to Communications from Home. I'm your host, Neshi Lokotz, and it is a wet and blustery evening here in northwestern Wisconsin where I live, and I hope you guys are having nicer weather than we are. So anyway, this is my evening show, my weekly evening show here on our main fan page for Star Nations organization, and I can't wait. I've been literally anticipating the show all day, actually for the last 2 days, because I get to share something with you that is near and dear to my heart, literally. And so I'm going to get that going. So tonight's show is really about our hearts, our spiritual heart, and what we do to remember what's already stored there. Right. And so I got a couple questions for you guys just to get the ball rolling here a little bit. Okay. And that is, are you interested in knowing more about your spiritual heart? And have you ever felt frustrated about not knowing your life path or your soul work? I think that every single one of us has felt that. If not currently feeling it, we certainly have felt it in the past. And having that connection to your sacred space of your heart helps us to alleviate that frustration. And I want to share that with you tonight. I've done shows about the heart for since 2010, I think it was. So 9 years of sharing this kind of information. And I have to say that tonight's show is really about that, but so much more, because we are living in a much different energy field than we were in 2010, than we were even 3 years ago, right? So I hope you guys are on the edge of your seats waiting for this information. Wait, I want to say hi to a couple people here. Rochelle's here. Hi, Rochelle. Yay. Thank you for sharing that you grounded today and the weather is crappy. I know it's been this way for a couple of days already. And how's mom? Well, mom is doing pretty well. This is the time of year, the seasonal changes are harder on her than the rest of the year. And this particular seasonal change has proven to be the most difficult for her and her pain level when we're switching from autumn to winter. And so we're going through some stuff, but she's hanging in there. She's got some important company coming tomorrow. We're kind of, I had to have the house cleaner in today, and I went and got some snacks for the morning for coffee and tea and that kind of thing. That we're enrolled members of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, right? And our tribal president is coming to visit mom tomorrow because she is one of the elders in our nation, one of the oldest people in our nation. She and her cousin actually are two of the oldest women in our nation. And so the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation president is coming to visit her in the morning. And you guys, this is the equivalent. This is the equivalent of a president of any nation, whether it's the United States or France or someplace like that, right? That's the equivalent. And so she's very excited about it. And I think that's really been, she's been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now. And so tomorrow's the day, tomorrow morning. So wish us well. Wish us well on that visit. So getting back to tonight's show. Tonight's show's information, it'll help you to understand why you feel the way that you do about knowing and knowing your spirit and knowing your life. It is one of the things that helped me the most when I was in that state of quandary, right? Now, you guys know that I grew up with talking about spirit, talking about our dreams, with ceremony, right? Native American dancing and drumming. And so, the closeness to spirit has always been there. But like you, I didn't know what direction my life should go in, didn't know what spiritual work or soul work I was meant to do here. And I would say in the late 80s, I was just antsy. I knew that there was more. There was more to life than just going to bed, getting up, going to work, right? And so that's when I really started my search. And I remember even making a list, a checklist of things that I wanted to know more about. And it wasn't until the 90s, late 90s, that I actually ran across a book. It literally fell off the shelf and hit me in the foot. That spirit going, take a look at this, right? And it was The Flower of Life, Volume 2 by Drunvalo Melchizedek. Now, and I had heard of Drunvalo at that point already, but I hadn't read much of his work, right? And so that was my very first book. I was so very interested in sacred geometry and ascension and creation. And so I was searching. I was a seeker. I was a seeker of knowledge. Yeah. You know what? I forgot to do something. Oh my. I did. I forgot. I was so excited about this work and sharing about the visit that's coming up. And so I need to sprinkle. I need to send the show over to my news feed. I forgot to do that. In my excitement, I got to find this would happen the other night, right? I couldn't find our live stream. And I know I'm streaming. I know that. So if you would do me a favor, if you could also share it over to, I said that word. Send it over to your newsfeed or to a friend, right? That would really be great, because I completely forgot. And you know what? I don't have a share button on, I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand Facebook. All right, so I'm gonna send it over to my newsfeed. And I'll go away. There you go. All right. Sorry about that. I completely forgot. There we go. And we're going to send it over to the closed group too. Just to remind the peeps that I'm live streaming. There we go. And we'll send that over to them. There. Completely forgot. See what happens? See what happens when I get when I'm on a subject or a topic that really is very, very meaningful to me. I completely forget about other things. Yeah, it's in the zone, right? It's in the zone. All right. So I was sharing with you about my story and finding this. I don't want to call it a method. I don't, because it's much, much more than that. What I found was the root. That's what I was searching for. I wanted to find the root of beliefs and of creation, because I really felt that those two things went together. And I did. I found it. It took me a while. And I activated my Merkaba, my light body, in 2001. Yeah. It was after I had read the book and looked for a teacher for the Flower of Life. That's what it was called back then, Flower of Life facilitators. And I found one which was only 30 minutes from where I lived and ended up being a good friend of a friend. And that was all synchronicity that was going on. And so she actually created a class, because she wasn't going to be teaching a class until midsummer. But she created a class because I asked her, really, for a spring class. And I even put down a deposit that whenever she got the class together, if she could, that I would be there, whether it was spring or summer. And so Maureen St. Germain. So she was my guide into this, and my first connection directly to Drendula. So anyway, that's how I got started, and I realized that being able to be in my sacred space of my heart was the key to my ascension, but more than that, because that's important all in itself. But it was to the memories, remembering, because we already know all that we need to know is already in our heart. And so it was a matter of remembering how to get into that sacred space of the heart. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a second. I see that Rochelle is saying some stuff here. She's saying, that's fantastic. Good for her. I know, right? Thank you for sprinkling the show. I appreciate it. And it's good to hear you and your thoughts. That's great. I know I miss you guys too. I do. I was doing, first it was daily, and then it was every 4 days, and now it's every 2 days. I do a live stream in the afternoon, and I had to make some room for the next expansion of Star Nations. I need to spend some time on some of the items, and so I had to find some time somewhere, and so I ended up going down to 2 days on my afternoon show. And so, yeah, I miss you guys too. I really do. Spending that time together in the afternoon. Don't worry, I'll be back to that 4 days a week. I just can't tell you when. And Jocelyn's here too. Hi, Jocelyn. It's good to have you here. And Judy's here too. It's so good to have you ladies in the house. All right. So I was sharing about my story on how I found, as I was seeker, I was seeking a way. I was trying to put things together, for me to see this larger picture. And when I activated my Merkaba, there was a few things that happened after that. And, as we live our lives, sometimes we don't recognize those shifts until we actually either pause and take a look at hindsight and to see where we've been and where we're at now. And especially if we don't celebrate those small wins, right? Those small things that occur that help us adjust and rebalance and readjust. And so that when we are at our vibration and we're using our gifts and we have synchronicities happening left and right, that we realize that, I'm on the right path. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, you're so grounded. You are so grounded. And there's another one, you're so comfortable in your own skin, and I am, and I'm very grateful for that. And I thank them for the compliment. I do. But that has more to do with all the spiritual work that I've done. Now, Paul, my husband, he's known me since I was 19. And he also knows what a roller coaster of a ride it used to be. Because one of his statements to me not too long ago, probably, I think we had just moved up here. So it's been about 13 years. He said to me that whatever you're doing, it's working, because we don't have those really high highs and low lows. And it's not that we don't have that kind of wave in there. It just doesn't have those sharp peaks and on either the up or the low. It's more like, just a gentle wave. And he also told me that, because our lives really are in the flow, and he notices the synchronicities. And when we set an intention, and how things kind of unfold from that, right? He says, especially when it came to feng shui, he says, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And really, he was also doing the same thing. He just wasn't consciously aware of it, right? Yeah. And so the sacred space of the heart, to me, and I really do, I feel this literally in my blood, in my bones. Okay. There is a key that you guys already have, a key to the sacred space of your heart, and that's love. The thing is that as two-leggeds, when we're living here in this third dimension, fourth dimension reality, right, that we tend to forget that we are spiritual beings and that we're multi-dimensional beings. That yes, we are beings from the planet Earth, but more importantly, we're universal beings. Our soul is a part of the entire universe, not just of this one planet. Okay. So that's very, very big, right? It's very big. And sometimes I think we forget about that. In our hearts, we recognize that. At our soul, we claim that. We are that. But it's our earth life that gets kind of clouded over. And I think you guys kind of know what I mean. You know, our everyday lives we make them complicated sometimes, a lot of the times. I think us two-leggeds, we just tend to do that naturally. You know, we can take the simplest thing and turn it into something kind of complicated, right? So when I was seeking the information that I felt that was that it was going to be life-changing. When I found those pieces and put them together, it was like the sun came out and it was a bright spring day, right? New beginnings. So with this key that you guys already have, which is love, what you're really needing now is to kind of fill in the rest of the picture. And that is the why, right? Because you kind of know what the sacred space of the heart is. I kind of shared that already with you. The sacred space of your heart is, it's a place where your soul knows all about, right? It is the place where it houses every experience your soul has ever had. And some people call that the Akashic Records. Your personal soul Akashic record you carry with you always. It's not off in some foreign land. It's not in another dimension far from you. It's right here. We carry it with us all the time. The sacred space of the heart is not a small container. It is in the vicinity of our physical heart. That is for sure. Okay. Our heart chakra carries the vibration of it, but it's vast. It's very large space because it has to hold a very large energy field, which is you, right? You know, when we do the unity breath meditation, I don't know, let me see if I can find that picture. As I'm looking for it. Whoops, I clicked off on it. I'm going to find it. It's been a while since I used that picture, so it might take me a second here. Here it is. I'm going to show you this picture. When you see it, you're going to say, oh yeah, I remember that one. This one. I'm going to turn off the crawler. There we go. Do you remember this picture? I used this during the unity breath meditation to explain a few things to you guys, right? That larger field, that larger circle around his body, that is generated by universal energy flowing through your crystalline tube. But that universal energy actually flows through the sacred space of your heart. So we're totally connected to the universal energy, which is already at the frequency of love. And so when it's flowing through us, it energizes us. When we turn our attention to it, when you're awake and conscious and you turn your attention to it, you can feel yourself, your attitude is changing, right? I think it was Polly Joe, right? Today was talking about rebalancing. This is kind of like that rebalancing when we turn our energies to it, to that energy flow. And in the sacred space of the heart, it's said to be the holiest place. The holiest place. Why? Is because it's at the vibration of love. It's a place that holds the information about our soul. From the time our soul was conceived until the present moment. This is why in the beginning of the show, when I said, do you ever feel that frustration? That you just don't know what direction you're supposed to be going in. Am I doing my soul work? Am I on the right path? Right? Because we've all asked ourselves that same question. And it wasn't until I actually pieced together this information and found Awakening the Illuminated Heart, and I became a teacher for that. But more importantly, it led me to the root of creation. Yeah, and that we all carry that inside of us. And this is a major component of it, is remembering that we already have this all inside of us already. It's a matter of remembering. It's a matter of remembering. The thing is that this information I'm sharing with you tonight, our ancestors, and I'm going to call them the ancient ones, okay? Because it goes back more generations than we can possibly in our mental mind, our two-legged mental mind, could ever understand. Okay? So our ancestors, they already knew about this. They did. That's why they lived their lives in a certain way. That's why they didn't hide it from us. It's been with us the entire time, generation after generation after generation. And it wasn't until our generations that we moved so far away from our center. Can you remember the 1980s? Do you remember that was the me generation, right? That was all about everything external from us. It wasn't until that decade that we moved so far away from our center. And I say we, the royal we, because as a planet, as a global community, we hold a lot of energy that way. Yeah. And so it was that whole generation that was holding that particular vibration, right? And it wasn't until the late 80s that you had people saying, hey, there's more than this. Because remember, we just came out of the 60s. That was a counter-revolution, right? It was a change that changed society. Then we went through the 70s, which was, a transitional place, really. The 70s was a tough place to be. And then we ended up in the 80s, and we went more materialistic than we went spiritual. right? But our soul still remembered through that whole time because we were still holding on to the information that the ancient ones left for us in our DNA. And so it was a matter of literally unlocking that information that we can remember. And there's many of us today that you may not have gone through the training or gone through the meditations and activated your Merkaba, but there's moments that you feel moments of pockets of joy, right? And you don't know where it came from. It's like all of a sudden you just feel really, really happy, right? And then it's gone. Moments. There's some people that can hold on to that for longer periods of time now, especially since the 80s. But it's a matter of remembering. We already have this within us. And for you here at Star Nations, our community here, those of you that have sat through the Unity Breath meditation with me every month, the last Tuesday of every month, for the last, 2 years, you already have the key. You already have the key. The ancient ones knew that there was a certain vibration that we had to have in order to access the sacred space of our hearts. And it was something that had been, I don't want to say lost, but there was that veil over it. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah. You could sense something was there. Many of us did. That's why we were seeking and continue to be seekers. Right? Yeah. And this information that I'm sharing with you used to only be shared by oral tradition. It was never written down. And, languages have been in written form for thousands of years, but it was never written down. Not until, I want to say probably not until the 20th century. 20th century. Yeah. And so in modern times, we do have it written down now, and it gets passed forward. But we are still working through something that we all had. And that was being trained from a very young age of only experiencing our life through our mental mind. In all of our education systems, that's how we grew up, right? We were discouraged from daydreaming. We were discouraged from being creative, right? Yeah. And so as we moved further away from our center, from our heart space, we had to experience that imbalance, I think, so that when those of us that woke up and realized that I can't live my life this way anymore, I don't want to. I want to have something different, something better, right? That we started to change our beliefs. We started to oops, Suri wants something. And I'm going to say, no, Suri. And so we have come so far. We really have. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you tonight about the sacred space of the heart is that when you finally remember what it's like to be there, you really, really don't want your life to be any other way because you're happy and your life starts to even out, actually. Yeah. All right. I just want to check the chat here real quick. Yeah, Rochelle says, I like this pick. Yeah, I do too. It's one of my favorite ones. Hey, Rob's here. You made it, Robert Coulter. And he says the 70s gave us the Gong Show. Reflect on that. No, right? He also says the Torah, Old Testament, was not written down until a few centuries BCE because it was expressly forbidden to do so. That's right. And it was meant to be oral. Exactly. Exactly. And in some ways, it still is. In some ways, some of this ancient information can only be really expressed when we're together in person, and I always wondered, especially when I'm using so much technology, right? And how do we do that? How do we bring this to our community here when we are global and we live in places where sometimes it's hard for us to get to or from, right? Without going through a couple of different airplane changes or train changes, or a few hundred miles to 1,000 miles just to get to a teacher, right? Yeah. Well, we're working on that. We're working on that. And so going through this process of remembering your sacred space of your heart is not a learning process. I know, right? It's not a learning process. It's a remembering process. And I know some of us probably would feel much more comfortable if it was a learning process because we know how to do that. We know how to sit and listen, take notes, take tests, write about it. We can do that. But when it comes to a remembering process, a lot of times we go, what? I don't know if I can do that. And actually, you probably know more than you think you do. At least that was my experience. It's like, oh my God, that puts that all into perspective. That's why that had to happen that way. I know, so it even helps you to understand why you had to have certain experiences in order to bring you to the place you are today. Now, I know that we choose whether you're consciously aware of it or not. You choose your experiences for your soul growth. And many of us do choose a more challenging path, right? But it's also means that you have the most soul growth through those experiences. For those who take the easier path, which is good, it's not a bad thing. The soul growth may be taking a little bit more time, right? Whereas those of us who want to be in the fast lane and we choose to have those more challenging life lessons, our soul growth literally it's like leapfrogging in your soul growth, but you're also experiencing some extreme emotions, right? I know we do it to ourselves. Let's see. Rob's also saying, in fact, writing existed in the British Isles long before Roman occupation. It was a secret or a mystery, and there was a way to communicate without talking. That's right. And actually, Rob, what we're talking about here in the sacred space of the heart, and also there's also another space called the tiny space of the heart. The tiny space of the heart is known as the language of no words. It's a vibrational language. It's the language of love. Yeah. The Kogi Mamos, actually, from South America, and indigenous people, they're the ones who shared this with Drunvalo. And I've told the story a few times during the shows where we do the unity breath meditation is that, Drunvalo, he really was on the cutting edge of this way back in the 70s. Yeah. He had this information coming from the angels, and they were putting people in front of him as resources, and from all over the world, right? And so he actually went and spent time with the Kogi Mamos. And the Kogi Mamos are the ones that told him and showed him about this, the language of the heart. And their holy people, their medicine people, are the ones that go through this experience, right? What they do is they go into a cave. It has to be in complete darkness for 9 days and 9 nights. And they only have bread. I'm sorry, they don't have any bread or water. It's a fast of 9 days and 9 nights in the dark. And what they're doing is they are dancing, but it's not like ballroom dancing or disco dancing or club dancing. It's more of a trance dance. Okay. It's more of a swaying. And they actually are going through almost like a life review, and they're facing their fears. Okay. On their own. They have people checking on them, of course, but it's them and it's their spiritual team. It's spirit that's with them. And at the end of that 9 days and 9 nights, it's said that they are truly human. Truly human. Meaning that they are living their lives from their hearts, where we were meant to be. But that's their process of remembering what it's like to be in your heart, because they had to get through all of those layers of fear in order to access their sacred space of their heart. They had to get to the point of actually having the vibration of love. Yeah. And so Drunvalo knew after he heard the stories and met, some of the holy people that had gone through this, he knew that industrial humans, that's us, there's no way that we're going to be able to do something like that. And so what he continued seeking, taking that information and holding it close and looking for another path that would be similar to the outcome of the Kogi Mamos. And what did he find? He found heart math. And this is one of their pictures, actually, the one I just showed you, this one. That the heart actually generates the toric field, those circles around this body, the larger circle and the smaller circle. And so he felt that if we followed that vibration back to its source using science, because there's a vibration there, energy, that we could find the source of it. And here, when I read that, that's exactly what I've been looking for all these years. I wanted to know the root of it. I wanted to go past what our human mind does to tradition, to Bible stories and that sort of thing. They're all good, but I wanted to know, where did that really start? That goes beyond a human mind bending it, right? And sometimes twisting it. And so what Drunvalo found through heart math is that we can find where this vibration actually begins. And it begins in the heart. And so they could trace that back to the beginning. And so in Drunvalo's mind, he scientifically found a way to prove what the Kogi Mamos already knew, what many indigenous people around the world already knew. They just didn't have this picture. They just didn't have the electronics and the software and the program developers to trace it all the way back to the heart. Right? And so if you have the key, then how come you're not always living from the sacred space of your heart? Can you think maybe why? I think you guys already know because I talk about it a lot. I do. Almost every show. It's about overcoming our fears. And how many times have I said that when we face our deepest fear, on the other side of that is our deepest desire. And that's really coming from our heart. How many times have you heard me say, you guys, that we have diligently been working on our own healing? That when we heal our emotional and mental traumas, that we have more access to our gifts and our intuition. We trust ourselves more. We have more insight using our senses, right? We're more clairaudient. We hear much more clear. We have more access to our clairvoyance. We have more access to our innate knowing, right? This is what this is all about. I've been studying this for almost 20 years now. I've been in actually applying it in this way. Let's see, I activated my Merkaba in 2001, and I went down to train with Drunvalo in 2011 and took my teacher training in 2012. I know, right? Rob is going, wow. I know. Rob, when I first connected the dots and saw what Drunvalo was teaching us, felt it, experienced it, I was literally speechless, which takes a lot, right? I was speechless. I was past the wow. And I have to tell you that there was a part of me that kept saying, I knew it. I just knew it. There was something there. And that was a huge breakthrough for me. Yeah. And I had already been doing my emotional and mental trauma healing. I had already started that back in 98, 99, something like that. But it wasn't until I had gotten this one piece, when I knew what the key was, it was confirmed to me what it was, that, yeah, I took my healing up several notches. And yeah, so that I could clear even more debris from there. So that when I did the meditations, when I could feel Grandmother Earth hugging me, when Grandfather Sky illuminating my path, I knew that I was remembering. I knew it. I knew that I was living my life from the sacred space of my heart. And the other confirmation I got it from a couple of different people. Some of you may know Jules Sheldon from Michigan. She had done my palm. She's a palmistry, right? And she had taken my palm imprints and she was doing a reading for me. And it takes quite a while for that to happen. She was working on it for a couple of months. And she sent the results to me through the mail with my imprints. And then she sent me a separate card that arrived, I don't know, probably about a week later, and confirmed to me that I had completed my soul contract and that there was nothing left. I was at the turning that there was nothing left to do but to relax and wait for more information. So basically go on vacation. Right? That was in 2009. And then 2 weeks later, I was on a call with a friend of mine, and she did a reading for me. And she wanted to know, my team wanted to know why I wasn't celebrating. And I was actually kind of upset with them because they weren't replying to any of my questions at the time. And her name was Tammy Gullen. And she was doing angel readings at the time. And she was the one who told me, she goes, well, you're done. They're saying you're at the turn. There's nothing left more to do. You've finished your contract. And they're celebrating. And they're saying, go on vacation, take a break, that you'll know when the next piece comes in, right? These two ladies don't know each other at all. None. One's from Michigan. Tammy at the time was in Wisconsin, but she's now in Colorado. They don't know each other. And then Carl Franklin also did a confirmation for me the very first time he did a life script reading for me. And so what I'm saying to you is that all of these synchronicities led me to working with this kind of information and helping others to do the same thing. The sacred space of the heart is the key to your ascension. And I've already been sharing that with you, consciously sharing it with you every month when we do the Unity Breath meditation. And also in almost every one of my shows when I'm talking about healing your emotional trauma and mental trauma. Because when we start to remove that debris is when the remembering is so much easier to do. If you have any blocks at all to remembering how to get into the sacred space of your heart, it has to do with an emotional or mental trauma. And that mental trauma has more to do with your belief systems, the limitations, right? The things that we grew up from our parents and society and, our religion, things that tell you that you can't or shouldn't. The things that you felt like, I don't know about that, but they're telling me to do it. So you do it, right? I know. Rochelle's saying, wow, this info, it's very enlightening. I know, Rochelle, you're going to get even more when you come to the class. Yep, Judy's agreeing. Jocelyn's saying, so true. Thank you, Jocelyn. Go to Disneyland? Kinda. Do you do the 9 days in the dark? No. What we do is we are in the dark. When we do the meditations, we are in the dark. But it has more to do with sacred sound. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do that online class, is so that we could get the primer in about sacred sound. Okay. There is a way to be able to heal enough emotional and mental trauma in a 4-day, 3-day retreat weekend that we can actually activate the Merkaba in an organic way. In other words, through the heart. It's the balance between the mental mind and the tiny space of your heart, actually. And so in those classes, we're doing a healing day. And some of you experienced it. I did that healing day in Michigan. How many years ago was that? 3, 4 years ago? Something like that. And some people actually recognized it as Drunvala's work, which it is. I'm one of his teachers, with my own spin on it, because it's more Native American based than scientific based. Yeah, we do some of the work in the dark, but not 9 days. 9 days. It's more important to get through the healing piece through sacred sound. It's being surrounded by unconditional love in the sacred sound. And yeah, it's one of the most profound healings I've ever experienced. In order to be a teacher, we had to go through that at least 5 times. I've been through it 6 times. And I've led, I don't know how many. And so every time you lead one, you also get a healing, right? Yeah. All right. So Lisa's saying, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, you're so welcome, Lisa. I got to watch the time on this one. All right. So I was also, when I was preparing for the show, I was thinking, so, helping you guys to understand what the sacred space of the heart is. So it is a vast space that holds all the information about your soul from the time it was conceived until the present moment. If you want to know yourself better, if you want to understand your soul work, that's the place to tap into. And the sacred space leads to the tiny space of the heart, which is a place that you are able to, well, it's a unified field, okay? There's no polarity there. And it's a place where you can connect with anyone, whether they're here on earth in a living body or have crossed over. You can meet with your spiritual team there. You create from there. The tiny space of the heart may be known as a tiny space, but let me tell you, you're connected to the universe there. That's where we get the term, and understanding the term, and at the deepest level of all my relation, Mitakuyasan, Yage Nagonan. That's where that comes from. Is that we understand and feel it from that place, that holiest place on earth. That's where we feel it. And we go one step further into the tiny space, and that's where we know it to be true. So this is something that Indigenous people, and we're all Indigenous. Every single one of us to some continent. Your ancestors may have not been born or from Turtle Island, but they were from a continent. And at some point, they were tribal people, Indigenous people to that place. And so all Indigenous people knew about this, knew about that frequency, that you had to have that feeling, that knowing of love, unconditional love, to have that access to live your life from that place, from your tiny space and from the sacred space of your heart. Everybody did. We all carry it. We all have the opportunity to remember it. It's not just for some, it's for everybody. Judy is saying sacred drumming. Well, it's a possibility that we'll be able to fit some drumming into that weekend coming up in November. But we're going to be a really pressing, stretching time in that weekend, because this is information I usually teach in I did 4 days. No, 5 days. I used to do 5 days. I've done it in 4 days, but this one we're going to do it in 2.5 days. Why? Because we're in a completely different energy field than we were back in 2012, 2013, 2014. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time convincing people that you're more than your mental mind. That was a lot of the workshop in the beginning. Okay, I just want to make sure I covered everything for you guys. All right. All right. So the last piece I had here is, why don't we automatically remember? That would have been a question if I were you, and I have been you, is like, why don't we already remember that? Why don't we automatically do that? And I already told you a part of it, and that was the traumas that we have to heal. Okay, we have to mend that heart. We do, and there's a lot of people walking around with a broken heart, and so we help to mend it to a point where you can feel comfortable in receiving and giving unconditional love. Mm-hmm. The other one is the beliefs, and some of them are rigid that we have to take a look at, right? You individually have to make that decision of what supports you and what doesn't. And many times it's a lack of trusting yourself. Have you ever done that? You know, you make a decision, then you go, oh, I don't know. Maybe I should have done it the other way. And so, you know, we second guess ourselves all the time, right? That's a lack of trust. Yeah. So, you know, there's things that can prevent, block, but that doesn't mean that they can't be removed, right? Right. All right, I'm going to catch up with you guys in the chat. I know we're going to go over time just a little bit, okay? Karen saying, I've been to Ireland and literally felt myself rooted there, but family was here and I returned understanding this deep connection. Right. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, because I think I spent a whole lot of time in a past life in Ireland. In fact, I know I did. That's like my second home, my second spiritual home. Yeah. Rob is saying, in your heart and your soul, did you find peace there? Yes. Yes, I love that song too. Hey, Rob, could you do me a favor? Could you grab the YouTube on that one and post it in the comments? That would be great if you could do that. I don't know if you're able to. I don't know where you're at right now. Jocelyn saying, no wonder all my life I always felt Indian in my heart. Yeah. Yeah, many people have. And a lot of times, Jocelyn, it's more about the connection, that the really deep understanding of your connection to Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky. It's that vibration, right? That's unconditional love. And Karen says, I also appreciate your. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing the wisdom tonight and wishing you and your mother a wonderful experience tomorrow. Oh, thank you. I know, talk about manifesting, right? Because not too long ago, she said to me, I wish I could talk to our president, because I think he should know more about what us elders really need. So she's going to have her time with him one-on-one. What a manifester she is. Okay. So here we go. If you feel that you would like to have some assistance with this, how do I say this? It's been a while since I taught those classes. And this is the first year that I'm actually going to be teaching it again in November, the weekend of the 15th, I think it is. I'll put the link in the comments. And this is the first time that I'm actually going to come from the Native American point of view. And that's how we're going to make it in 2.5 days. So here's the Star Nations Academy link. So you can take a look at it. You have to scroll down a little bit because I haven't updated the website yet. And so it has a couple of classes on there that are past. And so you need to scroll down a little bit before you get to the information about the journey to remembering. And that's how I titled that class, because it really is. It's a journey that we take together. And you have every possibility of remembering. You do. And one of the things the ultimate gift that is given to us and that we're going to do on that Sunday, and that is to activate your Merkaba. And so, and learn how to drive it. Yeah, because that's your ascension vehicle. So, we have a couple more spaces available. And, I don't know if you guys heard me the other night when I said this. The class was going to be closed because I had enough students to be able to do the healing in a certain way that needs to be done that way. We had enough people in there to do that. And a friend of mine, who I was her teacher mentor, Karen, and she's from the Chicago area. She saw that I was having a class and she goes, "Oh my God, you're teaching again." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Can I come up?" She goes, "I would love to assist." And so with her coming up, that means that we can take 5 more people, because there's a certain limit to it, because I have to be able to work with each one of you in a certain way. And, I can do that with bigger classes, but I just need more help at that time. So more assistants can come in, right? And so with Karen coming up, bless her soul, is that we're able to take 5 more people. So if you're interested, check it out at the website and listen to your spiritual team. And if you feel the call to do that, we have room for 5 more people. Okay. All right. If you have any questions about it, please give me a shout out in Messenger. Also, Julie Shumway Hill, who is our Academy Manager, she can answer some questions for you as well. Okay. All right. So I know we're a little bit past the top of the hour, but I wanted to fit that one in. I also wanted to remind you that tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay is not going to be there. I'll post a replay of one of her past shows for you, but she is taking a class actually. And so she's not going to be available for a live stream tomorrow night for Soul Connections, but I will post a past show for you. So if you want to do the meditation to get some more healing in, that'll be available to you. Okay. All right. And on Thursday, oh my gosh, we got a busy week. On Thursday, we have angel therapy with Maureen Mann at 4 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. And she's talking about courage and how Archangel Michael can help us. And then Thursday night, I'm with Carl and Ortrun Franklin at 8 p.m. on Thursday night for Living in Two Worlds. And then, oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Wednesday, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time is Spiritual Roundtable with the weekly card draw. I love that show. Okay, we got lots for you. So pick and choose which one you want to come and see. Hopefully you'll be there for all of them. That would be a blessing. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for posting that. That was a really good song. And Judy is saying, my maternal grandfather's parents came from Ireland. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's some good stuff there, Judy. Thank you for sharing. All right, so I'm so happy and grateful that you guys joined me tonight. Those in the live chat, thank you so much. And thank you to those who'll be watching this through the recorded video. I appreciate that too. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comment section and tag me, because in that way I know for sure that I see them. Okay. All right. So with that, Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.